Austria will phase out the measures which allowed refugees to cross their border in their thousands from Hungary over the weekend as Europe responds to the growing crisis in the region.
And here David Cameron is set to announce to the Commons just how the UK plans to help families from UN refugee camps on the Syrian border. Well, we have correspondents right across Europe with the latest for you this morning.
First, let's go to Jonathan Swain, who's in the Austrian border town of Nickelsdorf. Jonathan, just explain then about these restrictions and what might happen to them.
Morning, Susanna. Well, all weekend we've seen migrants come across this border from Hungary into Austria. But I have to say, from now on, it seems that their passage into the country may not be so easy, because late last night the Austrian Chancellor said that these special measures may well be scaled back over the next few days, which has allowed these migrants to flood into the country without any checks. And I have to say, though, that Austria really has been quite overwhelming with their generosity and compassion for the refugees. Just over there is Hungary. As soon as they step foot here into Austria, well, there's a very well-organised process, because they are handed food and water and fresh fruit just from the Red Cross centre behind me. Over here they're given clothes and blankets. And then yesterday as well, we saw something quite remarkable, because local people from around the area were getting into their own cars, driving across into Hungary to help.
In the back of a stranger's car, but its owner has volunteered to offer a safe journey in comfort. This family were walking from Hungary to Austria, but a group of students from Vienna drove to collect them. All weekend, thousands have crossed the border into Western Europe, many on foot.
You walked to here,
yes,
to the Austrian border.
Yeah.
You and your family must be very tired.
All tired.
But how long is all this sustainable? The Austrian government says it's time to slow the unimpeded flow of migrants and refugees, so they'll reintroduce spot checks on people entering the country. While in Munich, tens of thousands more are expected to arrive over the next 48 hours.
It's becoming more challenging because most of the places here in Munich are now full, and I think that's not a problem we have only for today, it's a problem for the next days and weeks.
Despite the cheers of welcome in Germany and some relieved faces, it remains unclear how Europe will deal with successive waves of migrants, which shows no sign of slowing. Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain, on the Austrian-Hungarian border.
Well, in Germany, officials have begun processing and registering thousands of those refugees and migrants who've arrived in the country in the last 48 hours. Nick Dixon is at Munich railway station this morning. So, Nick, any signs of how the authorities are coping with the huge numbers that are coming through?
Morning to you. It's certainly clear at the moment that they are at the stage where they're beginning to get a little bit overwhelmed by the sheer scale of this operation. Migrants, refugees coming in at the moment are not just staying in Munich, they're going to every possible part of the country that you can imagine, because it's becoming a huge, a massive operation to get them around the country. I mean, at the moment, for example, you have to consider here, this time last week, 100 to 200 migrants, refugees were coming in here. We're now at the stage where it's up to 7,000 every single day. Outside the station here, you can see people are coming in at the moment. It's just become one huge processing centre. People will come down the steps, come off the trains. That's one of the first trains in this morning, actually, the people you can see here. They're going into the medical tents for health checks and moving just around the processing centre here and getting onto one of these buses. But as I say, once they're here, there's another journey now, 4, 5, 6 hours on these buses to get them somewhere here in Germany, because it's just too busy here in Munich. And I was talking to one charity worker this morning who was saying that over the next 2 to 3 days, they're expecting another 25,000 people to arrive.
All right, Nick, thanks very much indeed. What's going to happen here then? David Cameron is going to make a statement to the Commons detailing how many refugees Britain will take, and Sue Jameson is at Westminster. So, Sue, what is the situation? Are we going to welcome more people in?
Well, he's already said, yes, there will be thousands more who will be welcomed. We expect that figure, in fact, is probably going to be around 10,000. They will come from the border refugee camps near Syria, and that also part of the humanitarian aid budget, the overseas aid budget, is going to be diverted in order to account for some of the costs of when these people are able to come here. We think perhaps going to focus also on the very vulnerable people like children. Partly the refocusing of the overseas aid budget is to appease some of the right wing of the party and those worried about migration. At the same time, of course, we've got this online petition, people saying we should be doing more to help asylum seekers. It's heading towards the 500,000 signatures, and all around the country there are individuals setting up groups to say welcome to the refugees.
Because we want as many people as possible involved in the leadership election and choosing our next leader. And, you know, I want this to be our next Labour Prime Minister as well. So it's an important choice.